Warning, the Stone Age Gamer includes a lot of bad language. Cover your mother ears.
Good evening and welcome to episode 172 of the Stone Age Gamer podcast for the week of October 20th, 2017. I am Kris Randazzo, and joining me, as always, is 2x4 wielding maniac Dan Ryan.
Got my hockey mask on and everything.
See, I was going more Buford Pusser, but all right.
Well, okay. Well, that's fair. Buford T. Pusser?
That's right. Played by the ever-lovable Jodan Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Walking tall reference, ladies and gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Getting it in early. As part of Geekade's 31 Days of Halloween, Dan and I are doing mini retrospectives on a couple of horror-themed games, continuing this week with the Splatterhouse series. Actually concluding this week with Splatterhouse, because next week's the 10-20-30. Bitches!
You're not the type of guy who says bitches. What are you doing?
You don't know me!
Are you trying on a gimmick? Is this a new
trying
character?
On some different hats. But before we go any further, here's your weekly reminder that you can email us at mail@geekade.com. Just include the word Stone Age Gamer in the subject line, and you can let us know what you think of our show, what topics you would like us to discuss in the future, or just say hello, because we always want to hear from you. Dan, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, Chris. The Yankees won right before we started recording, so that makes me happy in my pants.
Okay.
Not gonna
what about
lie.
the rest of you?
The rest of me is sick, but my pants are fucking ecstatic right now.
From the waist down, it's a big party.
It's a gigantic might be a bit much. It's an above average party from the waist down, but waist up is just
a step above a family reunion in the pants. More like a small gathering, playing some categories in your pants.
A step above a family reunion in your pants. That's hysterical. I'm already crying, son of a bitch. It might just be the allergies, but oh man, oh goodness, that was funny. Yeah, I'm good, Chris. I'm good. Had the old root canal last week, so that sucked. See, like, what was really cool about it?
Are fun.
Well, it was a great time. My dentist is really, really fucking funny. He's just an old Jewish man, and he makes me laugh a lot. And I've been going, like, he's the same dentist I've had since I was 7, which is kind of weird, but, like, anyway, so I've been going to this dude for a while, and, like, I went and got the root canal done, and, like, all of that was fine, and it didn't hurt nearly as bad as, like, I thought it was going to. And when you get a root canal, it's, like, usually done in, like, 2 or 3 appointments, right? So they put a little, a temporary filling, over top of the gigantic fuck-off hole that they drill in your tooth. And he said, now, you know, it should be fine, whatever. Like, you shouldn't have too much pain, like, take Advil, whatever. The only thing is, if this filling comes out, you know, it might come out, like, a day or two before the appointment, you know, your next appointment or whatever. Like, it's not a huge deal. Just try to get back in here because we don't want to leave that area exposed, as it were. I said, all right, cool, no problem. I said, don't eat, drink, whatever for an hour. Fine, I go home. 2 hours later, I'm gumming down some mac and cheese and popped right the fuck out. Son of a bitch. God damn it. All right, so back to the dentist the next day, and by that day, all of the pain had set in, and that's why I was not on the show last week, because it was just not a fun situation. Like, you would have been like, so, Super Ghosts and Goblins, and I've been like, everything sucks. Meh. Like, that would have been my contribution.
Everything is pain. Well, Dean did a very good job filling in your stead.
Did he? Did he say fuck a lot? I feel like...
I don't remember. Dude, that was like a week ago.
I don't listen when he talks. He's got his own video game podcast.
That was a week ago. I've recorded it way back since then. I have no recollection. All I remember is it was a good time.
All right,
we both left happy.
That's really what we're looking for out of this. Mm-hmm. Is you and me, or you and Dean, or me and Dean, or whoever, just us to be happy. It's really not about the listeners.
What listeners?
The bitches, as you called them.
The bitches. Oh, Bloody hell.
So, how are you? How are things?
I'm doing pretty good. I finished Sonic Mania, finally.
Nice.
Did that. I didn't get all the Chaos Emeralds. I probably could have, with the number of, there's the special bonus stages you have to do, and you have to find those special bonus stages with these giant rings in this state. They're hidden in the levels, and you find those giant rings, and you get a chance to do the bonus stages. And I got the first 3, no problem. The fourth one, I found tons of those levels. Like, I had opportunities for, to definitely get all the Chaos Emeralds. Couldn't get the fourth one. Just couldn't do it. No matter how many times I tried, I always screwed it up. And you only get one shot at them, because once you do them, then you can't go back in there and try again. So,
oh, that sucks.
I'll play through the game again someday, because it was a lot of fun. I'm just trying to... I guess I'm trying to sow my wild oats before Mario Odyssey comes out and kind of makes me stop playing everything else for a while.
Trying to see a bunch of other video games and, see how things go. I actually played in a Target. My daughter and I played a demo for that on a Switch machine. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I gotta get out there and give that a whirl.
As far as a Mario game is concerned.
Yeah, I know it's not really your cup of tea.
It's not, but
boy, I'm excited.
She was really into it. My daughter Katie, she was all about it. She was throwing the hat at fuckers and just laughing her face off in the store. So I was like, all right. I
didn't realize the demo had hit places yet. I should really get myself out to somewhere so I can try the game. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. Why would I even bother? It's like watching trailers for Star Wars at this point.
Yeah. Like, you're not going to go.
Did you think I wasn't sold?
Yeah. You said
I don't need to see anything else. I'm there.
I heard Star, and I was already, at half chub. And then I was like, oh, Wars? Fuck yes, full chub. We're in. Even Star Trek still would have been, 3/4 of the way.
Yeah, I really liked the last Star Trek movie that, what was it? Star Trek, not Beyond. That was the second one.
Into Darkness? Or was that the...
No, Into Darkness was the second one. Beyond is the third one. Yeah, I really
didn't see Beyond. I didn't see it. I liked the first 2. They were good.
Hey, you know what I didn't realize? Carl Urban was in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. He's also the Punisher. Or Judge Dredd, not the Punisher. What the fuck am I talking about?
Just kind of, woo.
That's Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, no, I knew that one. I knew that one fine. I'm watching Lord of the Rings at work now, and I'm listening to Lord of the Rings, and I'm just sitting there man, I know this guy's voice, and I knew all the lines because I recognized him, and I'm always this guy's always looked weirdly familiar to me, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And so I finally IMDb'd him. I was like, holy crap, that is him.
Holy shit, he's been in every movie I like.
Really throws him off. He just doesn't look like himself. He looks very, very different. But
he's also in the upcoming Thor picture.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Yeah, he's the executioner.
That's good for him.
That movie is going to be so fucking dope. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And did you see the Black Panther trailer?
I did see the Black Panther trailer.
God. I didn't know what I wanted out of that movie, and then I saw the trailer and thought to myself, that is exactly what I wanted.
Specifically what I want out of that movie.
That was 100% what I wanted. And Ryan Coogler has done 2 films that were both out of control good. Fruitvale Station is fantastic. Completely different subject matter and much more serious and whatnot. But did you see Creed?
I did not see Creed. I've never seen a single Rocky
God,
movie.
It's so good. And I think it would be just as good if you had never seen the Rocky
I want
films.
to. I'd like to watch all the Rockies one of these days, but
all is a bit strong. Maybe stop at 4.
If I'm going in, I'm going all in. I just watched the Star Wars prequels again, for crying out loud. I can handle anything at this point.
I saw that. I still think you're wrong about episode 2. I really do.
It's
the
worst.
Horrible movie. It's a horrible movie. Yoda fighting makes it okay for me.
Nah, I'm over that. So about Black Panther, I saw a great joke about that. So they released the poster, and the poster. The great thing. It's excellent that this movie is they didn't really screw around with the casting. They were like, we're not gonna do anything weird with the casting. We're casting black people in this because that's what this movie should be.
Absolutely.
And on the cover of it, on the poster, you have basically the only 2 white guys in the movie, which are Andy Serkis and Martin Freeman.
Right.
And so somebody wrote, the only two white people on the poster are Bilbo and Gollum. I'm okay with this. Somebody else replied, they're the Tolkien white guys.
Oh, man, we shouldn't even record an episode now. That was fucking good. That's really good.
That made my day. Like,
wow.
I had a pretty decent day.
Wow.
That was one of the best things that happened to me today, was seeing that joke cracked me up. Really, just that's man,
that
next level
is
dad humor right there. It's
that
delightful.
Is just really solid, really solid. Wow.
Let's see. I've been playing more Picross, obviously. I'm obsessed. I kind of decided to revert back to try to finish some of the other Picrosses on 3DS. As I got more than halfway through the Picrosses in the Switch one, I'm like, you know what? I should bank these because they're not going to last forever. Maybe they will keep releasing them like they did on 3DS, but just to be safe, let me pound out some of these older ones. So I went back to that weird Twilight Princess Picross they released. That's a lot of fun. You know,
is it?
It's just Picross, but it's Twilight Princess. It's not specifically Twilight Princess. The puzzles, like the thing itself, is very Twilight Princess themed, like with the visuals and the sound effects and stuff. But I did a jar the other last night and like some grass or something. It's a good time. And really, the only other thing I've been playing is I went back to do more Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I decided to go back and try to play some more of the levels to get the puzzle pieces. Just going for a more 100% run. Not 100%, but let me just complete it and get all the stages. I wasn't going to, but the game's just really good, and my son likes watching me play it. So, and going back on it, it's been years since I played some of these levels because I started playing it the day it came out, and I just finished it a few weeks ago. So I'm doing these like beginning levels again, and it's wonderful. They're really, really good stages. And goddamn, David Wise just knocked it out of the park with the soundtrack in that game. Just unfreaking believable.
That's what he does.
That is what he does.
I did forget to mention, so I told you a couple weeks ago I got the PS4 Pro.
Yep.
And I then that weekend went to see Lewis Black in Atlantic City, which was fucking fantastic. But then that weekend I also picked up Horizon. And holy shit. It's one of the best games I've ever played.
I have heard very good things about it.
It is spectacular. And like I didn't know how much of a difference a PS4 Pro was going to make in the graphics. And holy shit, does it ever. Like, this game is stunning to look at. Like, it is just stunning. Like, I just walking around, like, hunting these fucking mechanical things and, like, just stopping to look around for, like, 10 minutes of just, like, Jesus Christ, this is amazing. And, like,
it's going to be really interesting to listen to the gaming press in its entirety try to pick Game of the Year this year.
Well,
like,
and
it's going to be crazy.
What's kind of cool about it is that I really feel like out of all the games that have been labeled like a Zelda killer, I feel like this is the closest that Sony has ever had to a Legend of Zelda style game. Like, when I play through this, I really feel like I am playing a Zelda game, like much more than like Dark Cloud ever was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because that fucker wears a tunic, that doesn't make it the Legend of Zelda.
He's got a green hat, doesn't make it Zelda.
You know what I mean? But
I've heard very, very high praise about that game.
It's incredible. And what's awesome about it is that most of what I've done so far in the game, the trailers did not give anything away. Like, you start playing this game and you're like, holy shit, like, there's a whole thing here, like, right at the very beginning, right at the birth of the new religion here, that was never touched on in the trailers. And it just makes the game so much deeper, and the story is very cool, the voice acting is great. Like, it is a staggering game.
I am excited to someday play that.
One day you should.
PlayStation 4 I don't own.
Yeah, well, yeah. You'll get one.
I will. I mean, I just got a notification from Amazon that my copy of Bubsy will be mailed to my house pretty soon.
One day, Chris, our listeners are going to come through and they're going to buy me a couple packs of stones and Puzzle and Dragons, and they're going to buy you a PS4. Like, Christmas is coming, Chris, and we're both good Christian boys, so we right? Like, that's. I'm not sure who we're supposed to be appealing to get free shit at this point.
Oh boy. So let's talk about Splatterhouse.
Yeah, so that was what, 20 minutes of fucking nonsense?
Good 20 minutes. You know what?
Okay.
I am shocked every time I hear that there are people who listen to this show. And to every one of you, I thank you so much. If you hate listening to Dan and I just talk about random bullshit for 20 minutes, let us know.
See, but this is how we keep our podcast fresh, is because we don't talk to each other the rest of the week.
It's true. We very rarely communicate outside of this.
We really don't. We have a very forced friendship. It's very...
It's like 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after.
I am friends with you for like 2.5 hours on Wednesday. That's it.
But what a 2.5 hours it is, huh?
What a glorious 2.5 hours it is.
All right,
shit.
Geekade's 31 Days of Halloween. It's the thing we're doing. We always liked celebrating Halloween because we're goofballs.
Sure.
So we're going to talk about the Splatterhouse series this week. Now, cards on the table. I do not have a lot of experience with Splatterhouse, so let me sum up my experience with Splatterhouse right now. There were years of people telling me, "Yo, Splatterhouse is a great game," and me never playing it because none of my friends had a TurboGrafx 16 except for my one friend Joe, who had one but did not have Splatterhouse. I never came across an arcade version of Splatterhouse. One day, back when the regular Wii was a thing, I went to my friend Paul's house, and he loved Splatterhouse, and we downloaded the TurboGrafx 16 game, and I watched him play it for about 45 minutes. And that is the extent of my gameplay experience with the Splatterhouse series.
That's right, and we're going to squeeze out another hour out of 45 minutes.
We are, because what's interesting is that, let's see, I know I recently, I have some Splatterhouse games, and that's my life right there, is having games that I've never played. But let's see, where is Splatterhouse? Slave Zero, Slot Racers, Solar Quest, all my Sonic games, Boop-a-Doop-a-Doo, Space Invaders. Man, there's a lot of S games. A lot of games that start with the letter S.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have, look at that, I have Splatterhouse on TurboGrafx 16.
There you go.
Good for me. And I have Splatterhouse 3 on Genesis. That was part of a collection that I bought, though. It's a gorgeous shape. It's complete in box. Makes me happy.
It's also the worst fucking Splatterhouse game. Yeah.
Is it?
We'll talk about it when we get to it.
We sure will. So let's start with the first one. The original Splatterhouse. Let's see. The original Splatterhouse was released in arcades in Japan in November of 1988, and in North America sometime in 1989, and in Europe also in 1989. I was going to say nobody cares, but I don't know if anyone listens to this show in Europe. If you do, please tell us why.
I am sure we have European listeners.
Well, if you're sure, then I'm sure.
Okay,
I'm
great.
Sure that you're sure. Then it was released on the TurboGrafx 16 in 1990 in April in both Japan and North America. April 6th in Japan, April 21st in North America. It was also ported to the FM Towns and Windows and iOS. Ugh.
Ugh.
Boy, I can't. Whew. Yeah.
No.
Mobile phone games. Good times, huh?
Not a great idea.
Yeah. So Splatterhouse, for those who do not know Splatterhouse, originated as a game where you're a dude and you get weapons and you beat the crap out of really gross looking monsters.
Super gross.
Yeah, like the visuals in this game are the art direction in this game is nuts. And that, I think that was what this game was really about.
Oh,
was
yeah.
like the shock value, because there's not a lot of like enjoyable gameplay here. It's not Altered Beast, where Altered Beast is just legitimately a crappy game with a really cool premise.
Yeah, with just a
this
cool
game
hook.
This game is moderately fun to play. It's just not very deep.
No. Well, the boss. I see. The boss fights are.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Yeah, the stages are fairly mindless, and it's just like you're walking through the stages, seeing all these creepy, chained up, bloody monsters, and beating the crap out of them, and them splatting into the walls and stuff. Because this is basically like this is the most horror game I think I've ever seen. Because it's not about jump scares; it's just about like
it's just gore porn.
Yeah, exactly. It's gore porn. There you go.
Yeah,
well said.
Especially when we get to the 2010 remake, because, oh my God.
Talk to me a bit more about the bosses in this.
The thing that I always really enjoyed about the bosses, that I always thought was super cool about them, is that they play very much, and I don't know if this is going to resonate with you because you haven't really played it, you've just watched it, but they play very much like a shoot-'em-up, like a shmup. In the pattern detection and the way that you have to move Rick around, like if you're trying, because you can take a fair amount of damage before you die. Like the game is relatively forgiving with it, but there's a lot of like really fun patterns that you can fall into with the bosses to get through it and like take 0 damage. And they're cool, and they're over the top and just ridiculous. Like there's a guy that has 2 chainsaws as hands. Like it's like the most nonsensical. Like he's wearing a burlap sack and a hood, and he has chainsaws for hands. And for some reason, you're fighting him to get your girlfriend back from a mansion.
What is this guy's life?
Yeah, like how did he get the burlap sack on? Like somebody has to dress this dude. Like, come on,
yeah,
Steve.
I mean, God forbid he has to go to the bathroom.
Like, what the fuck is... Like, and there's like, weird worms as one of the bosses, and, like, there's always, like, in all of the Splatterhouse games, there's, like, a boss that is just goop. Like, it's just a pile of, like, slop and shit that becomes the thing. Like, it's just weird and over the top and very silly. But again, very, very much like 80s horror movies. I mean, that's what drew me to this game when I was a kid, was like, oh, this guy's got a hockey mask on like Jason. And then you play the game and like the hockey mask is like giving him powers, and it's nothing like Friday the 13th. But even so, it was just a cool visual, and like, it's... If back in the day, if you were into horror movies and you read like Fangoria magazine and shit, like... you knew about Splatterhouse, It was just one of those games that was like, this is fucking cool, and more people should know about this. Again, until it got to Splatterhouse 3, and it was like, what did you do? This is dumb. This was stupid. But, like, you could pick up, like, a fucking meat cleaver and shit, like, as you're walking through, and, like, a 2x4 and a shotgun, and, like, when the
there was some, like, interesting, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and I know there was a bunch of changes in the ports, and one of them being the main weapon being changed from a meat cleaver to a wooden stick for the home version.
Yeah. But you could get the meat, like you could get, was it a golden meat cleaver or a knife or some shit?
Golden meat cleaver.
The golden meat cleaver.
The weapon for the stage 4 boss is changed from an axe to a golden meat cleaver.
Yes.
The only cleaver in the game. Thank you, Wikipedia.
Thank you, Wikipedia. See, I knew what I was talking about.
Golden meat cleaver.
Because why not? And like,
where does one get a golden meat cleaver?
The Golden Kitchen Emporium. Everything they have is gold. It's fucking awesome. Like, I don't know. It's just, talking about Splatterhouse is kind of a weird thing. Like, because the first game is kind of awesome. Right? Like, it's really weird, and just, it wasn't a thing that a lot of people played in the arcades because we didn't have a ton of arcade versions of it around, in the United States, because it's fucking horrific and bloody, and this was back when people still cared about that shit. And, because this is like pre-Mortal Kombat and whatnot, so like to see something like this was really out of bounds for the time. But then if you were one of the cool kids like myself who had a TurboGrafx, like, this was the game that set it apart from the other systems. You know, like, because TurboGrafx had Legendary Axe, which is cool, and Keith Courage, and China Warrior, and, like, a bunch of different other stuff, but, like, Splatterhouse was the cool thing that you could get for it, that you couldn't have this experience anywhere else.
Unless you lived in Japan. Because the next game we're talking about is probably the weirdest one.
Yeah.
This game was only released on the Famicom, and it is called Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti. It is an adorable Splatterhouse game for the NES.
It is adorable.
There's a disco dancing Dracula as the first boss of the game.
That looks kind of like Michael Jackson.
Kinda, yeah.
Little bit.
This game is so weird. I don't know how this happened.
Because Japan makes chibi versions of everything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. I am sure there is a chibi Trump right now in a store in Japan.
Probably. You're probably right. This game is hilarious looking. I'm watching a YouTube video of it right now. It's oh, good lord. All right, let's see here. This was developed by a company called Now Production, who has done a crap load of games. They did Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu.
Nice.
And the original game that whatever game Yonoid was pulled from. Adventure Island 2. They did a lot of cool stuff on a lot of systems. Boy, they did a bunch of Dance Dance Revolution games on the Game Boy Color. Because that was a thing.
That exists. Anyway, that's a show for another show.
Yeah, it's definitely something else. So this company's been around for some time, and let's see here. It was released in Japan on July 31st, 1989. It is still a beat 'em up like the original Splatterhouse, but it's like you're still a murderous lunatic with a knife and a hockey mask, but you're running around killing adorable monsters and books and shit, and it's freaking weird. Like I'm looking at it right now. He's fighting a room full of furniture. There's like a baby doll with a head flying around, and there's a bunch of chairs.
Yeah, that's
around
in the
room.
first game.
Like,
in the first, like, there's a weird room where stuff just flies at you, and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna punch this fucking brick for a second, because why not?
Like, it looks like a pretty cool game. Like now, he's fighting a kitchen. He's fighting a beheaded chicken, which just burst into flames, and there's knives flying off the wall at him. Oh, this is wonderful. Have you ever played this game before?
No, I've never played it. I have a ROM of it. I've just never gotten around to play with all the free time that I have.
Yeah,
you know,
there are copious amounts of free time just to.
I have watched a playthrough of it though, and it's just super cute and very similar to what is it, Kid Dracula?
Yeah, but this is way more violent because they didn't really.
Yeah,
there's no blood, but they didn't seem to turn down the violence in the least.
No, you're still cleaving shit in twain.
Now there's some weird. Whoa! All right, there's a green rat that's barfing up other rats. This is awesome. It's a giant green rat, and he's barfing up little green rats, and that's, I guess, some sort of boss character. Oh, now he's on fire. Wow, this is magnificent. This game is just a treasure. I have also not played this game.
All right,
as stated before, I haven't
next year's
played any of the other. Yeah, next year's Petathon, no doubt. I'm astonished that this game exists, but at the same time not, because it's like, well, there's been all sorts of. If Monster Party can exist,
right? This
game still isn't as weird as Monster Party.
No, but nothing is.
Nothing is, baby. Monster Party is. Oh boy, we should do an episode on Monster Party one of these days.
We really should.
The two of us should sit down and play that game, and then talk about like all the therapy we need.
I'm into it. I love this idea. I'm happy to be a part of it.
Let's talk about all the therapy we need. Oh boy, yeah, that's weird stuff. All right, so we're gonna take ourselves. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, these first two games on the list are very cool, and the series takes a very dramatic turn for the worse after that. I mean, 2 is still, and we'll get to it. 3, And then there was the reboot. But like these first two games were very, like, at least the first like serious game, and I say serious, but you know, the first non-chibi game was like it really did, like, you look at it now and it's just kind of goofy and silly, and like nothing looks particularly scary and whatnot. But like when this game came out, I mean, you said this was released in 1990 for home consoles, so I mean, it was just a completely different world back then, and a game like this was the most horrific thing we had ever seen on a home console, at least in the United States. Mm-hmm. You know, there were certainly some other games that tried to push the envelope a little bit with more mature depictions of like gore and whatnot. Like some of the transformation scenes in the Werewolf: The Last Warrior game, like, were somewhat bloody and whatnot, but you know, like there was really not a game that, like, this would have been rated, you know, mature had this game come out when the ratings board existed. But this even predates that. This was the kind of thing that, like, we were allowed to get away with. And that might have been part of the appeal of Splatterhouse as well, of like, you know, oh shit, I convinced my parents to buy this for me. They don't know what's in the game. It's fucking gross. Come over and check it out.
Sweet Home also came out in 1989.
It did, but not here.
Oh, yeah, well, neither did this game.
You know, well, Splatterhouse did.
True. I would just that
not the
chibi NES
Wampaku
game. But you know, Sweet Home isn't all chibi and whatnot.
Yeah. No, this was like really the start of trying to push games in a more mature direction. Mm-hmm. You know, so it definitely has its place in history for that. And the first game is still good. I mean, it controls perfect for what it is. I mean, and we didn't even really talk about that. I mean, it is a beat 'em up in a sense, but it's not like Double Dragon as a beat 'em up.
It is definitely more Altered Beast than Double Dragon. It's very sluggish, but it's mostly like more your character has weight than I would say the game is sluggish. You know, it's almost like how Donkey Kong doesn't feel like Mario because he's so heavy. So you feel like your character has weight to him in this game.
Yeah. But no shoes. It's just unsanitary. It's just walking through all this gloop without your shoes on. Come on, Rick. Fucking.
Is that the character's name?
Yeah.
Rick?
Yeah. Rick and his.
Yeah, isn't the what we didn't talk about the story at all. It's like, oh yeah, Rick Taylor and Jennifer Willis.
Yeah, his girlfriend is captured in a crazy mansion, and he puts on a possessed hockey mask. Go
and tries to save it.
That's pretty much
the terror mask.
The terror mask, because it's not a Jason mask. We swear.
It's awesome.
We
you know
swear.
what? I just learned from our website.
What's that?
The
Really?
Macabre Movie Mausoleum that he didn't get that hockey mask until the third movie.
You didn't know that? He had a bag the first two.
I've never seen any of them.
Really?
I'm not a horror guy.
Yeah, but you grew up in New Jersey. Those movies are fucking like. You grew up in that area of New Jersey. Like, you grew up by the fucking Pine Barrens. Like, that is. Like, I know Camp Crystal Lake is not in New Jersey, but fuck, it really could be.
Yeah, I just never saw him. But
son of a bitch.
I'm enjoying Alex's write-ups of all the movies, and basically the way he wrote about the third one makes it seem like the third one's really just all about him getting dressed. Like,
it really is. It really is.
He spends a bunch of time in the beginning of the movie getting a shirt, and then he gets the hockey mask. And it's like, wow, this movie's just about Jason killing people and getting dressed.
It really,
I'm in.
Really is. Those movies are so terrible. I love them. Especially Jason Takes Manhattan. That one is fantastic. I saw that in the movie theaters with my grandfather. It was ridiculous. He fucking harpoons a dude and takes his intestines out. It's like, what? I don't think we should be watching this. I think I'm too young. I don't know. Anyway, so Splatterhouse is fucking dope, though. Like that, but that's the other thing. Before, like, because I know we're kind of like, it seems like we're kind of shitting on it a little bit, and we're really not. I adore this game. I love this game to pieces. It's very fun. Like, even as flawed as a game as it is, and it's very short, and there's not a ton of strategy to it until you get to the bosses, and then you have to really like have strong pattern recognition and whatnot. It is very cool, and the atmosphere is really cool. The art direction is bananas. It's awesome.
Word. I'm sorry, I don't have anything else more important to add.
I feel like you're really selling it. Let's do some commercials.
Let's do some commercials. Yeah, we're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the remaining 3 Splatterhouse games. You are listening to the Stone Age Gamer podcast from geekade.com. Stick around. And now, here's a look at some of the other original content available right now at geekade.com.
First up, on the most recent trip into the non-stop comic shop, the boys discuss the famous DC Elseworlds tale, Superman Red Son, the ultimate example of a comic everyone loves, but no one has actually read. I feel it's very much the same as Watchmen. Because that comic...
I've read Watchmen. I have not read Red Son.
Sucks. Oh, Watchmen sucks.
I did not care for most of it.
Oh, it's so bad. It's
I liked
so
the parts
bad.
that I liked, but I did not like the parts that I didn't like. And there were way more of them.
Are you running for office? That was the most politician answer I've ever heard. I liked... The parts that I liked were parts that I cared for a great deal. But the ones
I'd be like reading some interesting shit with Rorschach and be like, all right, this is cool. And then I turn the page and it'd be that freighter thing again. I'm like, oh, not more of this. Because there's like 800
so
panels
bad.
per page, and every single one of them is just riddled with words.
It's so bad.
Ugh.
It's
and
not good.
I read every single bit of it because I thought to myself, I'm going to skip these. And if I do, some of it's going to be really important at the end.
Nope.
And then I got to the end, and there was a bunch of squids everywhere. And I was like, why did I read any of this freighter stuff? I could have finished this book like a month ago.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. Red Son, very similar to that. After the
Neat
break...
idea.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea. After the break, Jordan reviews Avengers 36 and 37 involving alien invaders named for a movie studio, a female Ultron prototype, and Black Widow's flagrant defiance of the Comics Code Authority. For all the comic book podcast fun you can handle, check out Nonstop Comic Shop, Episode 7, Red October.
Then, for Geekade's 31 Days of Halloween, it felt only right to explore the music of the spookiest Zelda game. The soundtrack has the unmistakable flavor of Koji Kondo and, like an Ocarina of Time, music plays an interesting, active role in the gameplay. Join me and Vicky for her last appearance before her somewhat indefinite co-hosting hiatus, and hear what makes the music of this N64 classic special in Waveback, Episode 45, The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say Spirit Tracks.
I didn't say the worst Zelda game. I said the spookiest. Although Spirit Tracks is mostly about a ghost. I see.
No, I guess I could, yeah. Finally, Chris here also does a TV podcast.
I do.
They just hit their milestone 100th episode.
Mm-hmm.
How did they celebrate? By playing a game of Who's in My Mouth. Well, by watching the... No.
Via Skype.
Turned out the lights and played Who's in My Mouth. Well, by watching the classic 100th episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Is that a classic? I don't know. I've never seen it. I've seen 3 minutes of that show total.
No. Yes, it is a classic episode. It's the episode the show should have ended with.
It's not the music episode?
No. That was like 2 seasons later.
Oh, wow. All right, then. They also discussed a ton of TV news, hated on Riley because he's the worst, literally, and Chris did the Dragon Ball Super 60-second summary. Give a listen to this week's episode, number 100. And
I don't have a title for it yet.
Nothing more for me to read.
Evan, you know what? Evan was going to be editing it now, and I was going to ask Evan what the episode title was before we read the commercials, but Evan is asleep because he's sick.
Well, let's change it to give a listen to this week's episode 100, Who's in My Mouth?
You can catch all this quote-unquote great stuff, plus tons of other articles, videos, podcasts, and more right now at geekade.com. And we're back. We are back. We're back.
And front.
And front. Front and back and side to side. Do the Bartman.
Wild Stallions.
That's our show.
That's our show, folks. I just got those Funko Pops. The Bill and Ted Funko Pops.
Did you?
I got those, and I came home from work the other day, and like I was putting shit on the bookshelf. Like a book, I think I was putting away because that's what you would put on a bookshelf. But I was like, I can't put this down because there's a bunch of shit in the way. And Tiff was sitting on the couch, and she was like, Is there a bunch of shit in the way? And I was like, yeah, there's all these fucking Funko Pops. The Golden Girls, son of a bitch! Like, so fucking Golden Girls Funko Pops were, all four of them were sitting there. I was very excited.
Congratulations.
That's pretty awesome.
They announced an official Moon Knight Funko Pop, so
Nice.
Evan's over the moon. Ha!
Oh,
That wasn't even
Knight.
on purpose.
Night. Good.
Oh, God.
Good stuff.
All right, so Splatterhouse 2 is a game. I'm on fire tonight.
You really are.
I'm really on it. Like
This
I'm
might
so...
be in 100 and episodes, 72 episodes. This might be your finest hour.
I'm just not. I'm mentally elsewhere tonight, and I don't know where that elsewhere is besides bed. It's different kind of tired. But anyway, Splatterhouse 2. So this one is a Genesis game.
Right.
Now Production. Is that the same one we were just talking about before?
Yes.
So Now Production also did this. And let's see here. This was in North America on August 3rd, 1992. In Japan a day later in 1992. And also in Europe in 92. So, hooray. This game was all about 1992. I'm looking at the cover. I see a rather adorable green squid character.
Yeah, that's really weird. He's nowhere near as adorable in the end of the game.
And a xenomorph from Aliens.
Yeah, the cover art
pink.
is terrible for this one. It's so
wow.
bad.
That is really not good at all. He
No.
looks very Casey Jones-ish. I guess
Yep.
this is where they kind of started veering away from the hockey mask and was like, maybe we should change this to not a straight-up Jason ripoff.
Well, this one still has a lot of elements of that, and this one is still trying to be, like the house is still like the main focus of it, and like you, like trying to go back to save Jennifer again, and like that adorable octopus character that's on the cover is like after you get Jennifer out, like after you break her out of a crystal, because that's one of the fights in the game is you fighting like she's in a crystal. It's fucking weird. Like you punch a crystal a bunch and then like, oh, Jennifer, what's up? And you like walk out of the house and you get on a boat and you're like sailing away from the mansion. And then this fucking like gross ass octopus squid fucking thing that is the adorable one on the cover like starts coming up, and it's actually a pretty cool boss fight because it throws the weapon at you that you need to knock down to then throw it back at it. So like there's a pretty cool like gameplay. There's still some really good gameplay moments in this one. What's cool about this one too is that every boss, as you're fighting them, like they visibly change, so you know like when you're getting close to beating them, like pieces of them fall off and shit. So that's pretty sweet, which they then took way further in the third one.
I'm watching a video of it right now, and most of this stage was really bland. Like this, I was like, wow, this game actually looks pretty crappy. But then I just got to the boss, and it's this like giant, awesome looking blue face.
Oh, the blue face guy
barfing up other blue faces and stuff.
Yeah, see,
and his
if
eyes
you
are like bulging out of his. Whoa, his eyes just exploded. That was awesome.
Yeah, so like if you're watching that boss fight, can you see what I mean when I say it plays like a shmup?
Yeah, like it was very, very pattern recognition-y. That was a. And then I'm we were back to the stages. It looks like there's a lot more like ducking and it just kind of having to pay a little bit more attention to the combat in this. It's also a lot less gruesome. It seems like there's a lot less. There's not a lot of splattering going on.
No, it was a little bit
more
more
gross stuff. But
yeah, it is gross still, but it was a little bit more toned down. I mean, to a point, like eyeballs did just explode, but they're not
They didn't explode with like red blood everywhere.
Right.
They were all white goop and stuff.
Yeah, it is a very goopy game, but it became a very like green and blue goop, like Aliens almost. Like that's the kind of stuff that you're fighting. Like they're no longer deformed humanoids; they are just weird fucking creatures.
See, like now I'm way into it, and there's definitely some deformed humanoid pink monster things hopping around. Those are kind of gross, but you don't get to see them really fall apart and explode and die. Now he's in a sewer. That's kind of cool. I'm just like really skipping through.
Yeah.
Now he's in like a laboratory and he's holding a potion. Oh, dude, you're throwing flaming potions at each other? That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, that one's kind of cool. And that's actually like the ending boss fight there. You just like go and punch dude in the face and like his head explodes.
Wow, this is another like giant boss. This blue dude. He's like a bald guy. He's just kind of like almost like computery looking. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
this game is weird. I can't tell if it's
weird.
good or not. Ew.
It's good. Like good. I like it. It's not a great game. But it's fun. I mean, like there's a lot of fun to be had with it. There's still a lot of cool shit in it, and it still has some really interesting character designs, and you know, like I said, they kind of toned it down a bit for this one. But it's still pretty cool.
It's got one of those like nasty bosses that just seems to be made up of a bunch of body parts. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, very much to the very similar to the Castlevania boss that's like that, whose name I can't remember right now.
I can't remember it either.
But you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. That thing grossed me out.
Super gross.
When you chop off a chunk of it and you hear them all screaming.
Fuck. That's what they say, right? It's,
pretty much.
Fuck.
Yeah. That's what I'd be saying.
Yeah, right?
Christ.
I mean, yeah, I like this one. I like this one quite a bit as well. And I didn't play this for a very long time because it was just on the Genesis.
Yeah, this was just a Genesis game.
So, and it sounds so shitty. Like, as I know a lot of Genesis games, like we like bag on how they sound. This one sounds particularly bad. Like the screams and whatnot are just tinny and weird, and it's just not good.
So moving on to Splatterhouse 3. These games, by the way, are I looked them up a little bit. They're fairly expensive. Like they're definitely some of the more expensive Genesis games. Splatterhouse 2, a complete copy, is like about $150, and Splatterhouse 3 is about $140.
Really?
Yeah.
Splatterhouse 3 sucks. It's not good.
This one was also a Genesis exclusive, but only in America. It seems this game came out on PC Engine in Japan.
It did. What I disliked about this one a whole bunch was that
everything.
was everything, yes. But the main thing I disliked about it was that the first two games are just side scrollers. Like you control Rick on a horizontal plane. There is no movement towards or away from the screen. There's no like phony 3D like in a lot of beat 'em ups. So whereas Double Dragon, you could walk closer to the screen and up and down and whatever. Splatterhouse 1 and 2 are just completely on that horizontal plane. And the enemy encounters were designed with that horizontal plane in mind. In Splatterhouse 3, they didn't really change the way the enemies behave, but you can now move around like in a traditional beat 'em up, moving up and down, and they added grab moves. Like they basically made a fucking Streets of Rage copy, but just slapped the Splatterhouse skin on it. And
there does seem to be a map though. That's kind of interesting.
It just wasn't like the gameplay just was not fun anymore.
Yeah, I'm looking at the I see a lot of neat ideas, but I'm looking at the gameplay of this. Just the way your character moves seems so different. He's so much more nimble, and he's doing like uppercuts and stuff instead of just like
there's combos and throws and like there's
he looks more like he's fighting instead of just being brutal. He just did like a roundhouse kick. Like,
it was no longer Splatterhouse at that point. It was just a really shitty 3D beat 'em up.
Monster designs are nice and gross. And I do like this idea of being able to like walk through all kinds of different doors and see a map and trying to find your way through the Splatterhouse, as it were.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm watching all these throws and stuff they're doing. Like it's very Final Fight-esque and not in a good way.
No, it's really not. And like he has this weird like rage thing that he can do where he like fucking hulks out, and like it's just, I don't know. I just did not care for that one.
Wow. There's definitely some... Is that some blood? No, that's just paint on the bat. That's yeah, I'm just, again, skipping through a video of this one, and it's not really doing it for me.
Yeah, like the boss designs weren't as cool, I didn't think. I don't know. I didn't love it.
I'm looking at the window for the video on World of Long Plays on YouTube, and the first comment is, "This bitch needs to stop getting abducted by evil houses."
Well, that is just about as true a sentence as has ever been uttered.
I'm seeing a lot of the same monsters. The bosses are nowhere near as interesting as they were in the second one.
No, it's
the
just...
bosses in the second one were like really cool, and
it's just boring.
This is like there's one big giant floating head here, but it's like half the size of the other floating heads in the previous game.
It was just super generic.
Yeah, I see what they were going for, but I'm sad that it didn't do better. This definitely looks like a step back for this series. I mean, there's a way to modernize this kind of game and add interesting stuff to it, as we've talked about many times, the virtues of the Altered Beast GBA game. But
yeah,
these ideas weren't bad, but I guess just it kind of lost the soul of Splatterhouse in the interest of trying to be more complex, and that is a bit of a shame.
It is. It was, unfortunately.
And it was basically the end of the franchise for a while. Let's see, this was in 1993 when this came out, and it was 2010 when the next Splatterhouse game came out, which was a reboot. Now, this one I always thought looked really cool. I thought it was a great idea to reboot Splatterhouse because it just always struck me as something with a lot of potential.
Right.
This came out on November 23rd, 2010, here in America. Dan, talk to me about this game.
This is so incredibly over-the-top bloody. Like, the first game was bloody for its time. This game is bloody... Like, this is a game that will be bloody for any time. Like, it doesn't matter. It'll just be like, oh, shit, have you seen Splatterhouse, though? What they did was they made a really cool... like, they did not take themselves seriously at all with this game. Like, Rick, as he is fighting, like, pieces of himself will fall off and, like, regenerate, and, like, you can see his bones, and, like, it's just... gross and disgusting, and it's awesome in that aspect, but they forgot to make a game that played at all. Like, the controls are so shitty and so clunky that like, playing through this game, once you kind of get the hang of it, it's not intuitive. When you're like, I'm going to do this thing here, and I'm going to, like, move this way, and you try to do that, and it goes, no, I'm going to go make a sandwich. You're like, what the fuck? Why is there a make a sandwich control in this game? That's weird. You know, like that sort of shit. It's like, what is... I don't even understand how I just did what I did and why it took me completely away. Like, because it's a 3D fighting game. It's a 3D beat 'em up. It has sort of tertiary similarities to, like, God of War and Devil May Cry and that sort of style of 3D beat 'em up, but it is just not fluid at all, which is a shame. Because, again, this killed the franchise after this came out.
Yeah, I feel like this game did well.
It did well enough, but it did well enough on the premise of, like, we all still go see fucking the new Friday the 13th movies when they come out. And then we go, oh, why the fuck did we do that? That was stupid. Don't do that. And then it just gets, you know, like...
People keep seeing the freaking Transformers movies.
Oh, that's a fair point. I don't know. Like, I feel like it sold well, but It's just not very good.
Nice.
It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be right now. That's not fair. There's some fun to be had in it, and it is just so ridiculous that it's worth playing through. And it was for a little while the only way you could play the original Splatterhouse games if you didn't have a Genesis back in the day, because they are unlockable in the.
Wow. Well, that is cool. Sorry, I just looked up on VG charts. No, it did not do extraordinarily well.
No, I thought it did okay.
It sold
7
globally on Xbox 360, 180,000 units.
That's not great.
And 160,000 on PS3. According to VGCharts.com, which, any website that's got it, spells charts with a Z, I guess you can take that with a grain of salt.
No,
but
you can take that to the bank, sir.
If these results are to be trusted, I guess this game didn't do all that well. I feel like I remembered it having a lot of hype at the time, but I guess...
Well, it did, because people love Splatterhouse. But,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a cool game. I do like the game. It's a cool game. Like, in the visually, it's awesome. Like, there's a lot of really cool stuff going on, and the bosses are just huge and weird and just neat to look at and whatnot. But some of the environments can get a little bland and boring, which is kind of a hallmark of the franchise. I mean, I think it's worth playing through if you can deal with some clunky controls and whatnot. Like I said, once you get used to it, sort of, not that it has tank controls in the way that Resident Evil did, but like once you get used to the controls in Resident Evil, there's fun to be had. But like if you fight the controls the whole time, you're going to give up, You have to play the game the way that it's forcing you to. Does that make sense?
It does.
I'm
watching a video of it now. His transformation into a giant gross dude with the mask is pretty kind of hilariously awesome looking.
Yeah, like I said, it's
ridiculous.
so over the top and ridiculous. Like, it's so ridiculous,
It is extraordinarily ridiculous.
Which is awesome.
Love it. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. That's fun. And they just should have made a better game around it. That was really the big problem with it, is just they just didn't make a very good game to justify all of that shit.
Well, you know what? It's been 7 years, so I mean, it's entirely possible that who knows? Maybe we'll get another attempt at a modern Splatterhouse one of these days. They just threw the original Splatterhouse on the friggin' Namco Museum on the Switch for some reason.
Because the original Splatterhouse is great.
It is great, but it's such an odd man out. It's like, Pac-Man, Galaga, Splatterhouse. What? God, this game is extremely bloody. Really, the only game I think compares to this level of blood is Mad World.
And even that is such a
even
different
that,
stylized version of it.
I still think it's a step back from this. I still think this game has it on the blood department.
It really
it's
does.
Splatting all over the screen. Like, this could have been fun. Man, I wish this was better, because this does look like a hoot. Just the general idea of this is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's worth a playthrough, and like you can find a copy of this version of it. The 2010 remake is relatively cheap.
Yeah, I don't think this is a hard one to get your hands on.
It's just yeah. I mean, they, like I said, if they would have made a better game around it, you're kind of, other than the bosses, you're kind of going to do everything that is cool about it in the first hour of the game. And then it's just kind of repetitive after that, which is a shame.
That is a shame.
Namco
it's definitely still has the rights for it. It's their property, so.
Well, and it's one of the things, what separates a game like God of War and the Rygar reboot, and like Devil May Cry and that sort of stuff, is that as you are going throughout the game, you are continuously getting new stuff that makes the game continuously enjoyable to play. You haven't done every single cool thing you can do within the first 20 minutes.
If you're just consistently doing the same combos, mashing the same buttons, like
Yeah.
That's what makes Bayonetta and the games that you just said awesome. Like there's variety as you go through the game. And while this blood is absolutely hilarious to watch,
it's silly, but I mean,
achievement unlocked. You got red on you. Good job, game. It looks like the humor's there, and that makes me sad that this didn't do better because it seems like it's at the very least well written.
Yeah. So first Splatterhouse, definitely play it. It's awesome. 2010, you should try it if you can find a copy cheap enough. Good luck trying finding the Wanpaku Graffiti one. But 2 and 3, meh. It's all right.
If you literally have nothing better to do, if you've already listened to this episode because that's how bored you are,
send Kris $400 so he can buy a PS4. That's what you should do with your money.
All right. Let's call it. Let's call it a night. That's our show. Thanks for listening to us talk about horror video games. This was more fun than I'm letting on. I'm just in a really weird mood tonight.
You really are. You're just being shitty.
I'm just being shitty. I can't stop myself.
Stop being shitty. I have been charming and funny. I have been a delight this entire fucking evening, Kris.
I don't have to.
This is the problem in our relationship. This is why we're Wednesday friends.
Only one of us can be charming at a time, Dan. Oh, God. All right, join us next week when it will be time for October's 10-20-30, featuring games like The Orange Box, Symphony of the Night, and more, including games that actually came out 30 years ago in September, because I realized when looking at this today that we read October's 1987 games last month.
No shit.
So we're just
Why
going to go ahead
did you
and
tell
swap
anybody?
that.
Nobody was checking.
Well, I mean, who's going to argue, really? Like, I don't think anyone's really checking our work here, and
that's what I'm saying.
Besides
we don't have fact
and
checkers.
I just opened up my spreadsheet. I was like, damn, I did this completely wrong. We talked about all these games last month, so I'm just going to read September's this month, and I'm not going to pretend. I'm owning my problem.
That's right.
I did it. I screwed up. I let you all down.
You really did. I don't even want to
So
be
once
here
again,
anymore.
you can get in touch with us at malikek.com and let me know how bad I screwed up.
I will.
And you can also do that on all flavors of social media that we inhabit. You can like us on Facebook, find us on Instagram at Geekade, subscribe to our YouTube and Twitch channels for all our latest video content, and follow us on Twitter at @_Geekade. You can also find us individually on Twitter. I'm at Geekade Kris, that's Geekade Kris, and Dan is at
Geekade Dan.
If you're interested in more information about anything we discussed here tonight, be sure to check out our show notes. And while you're at it, you can also subscribe to this and any of our other wonderful podcasts on iTunes and Stitcher. Or if you're super nice, you can leave us a review because any and all feedback is welcome and appreciated. We'd also like to thank our intrepid editor, Evan, for making this show listenable for all you folks. And we'd like to thank Mark TDK Knight for our show's theme. You can check him out on SoundCloud and Bandcamp or his website, which we have a link to in, you guessed it, show notes. Again, always remember to keep your eyes on Geekade.com for more fresh, original content. And that is it, everybody. I promise to do better next week. Oh, my goodness.
No,
Thank you very
fine.
much.
This
Thank you,
was fine.
Dan. On behalf of Dan and myself and Evan and all the Splatterhouses in the world, keep playing games.